working. Hopefully we are in the correct orientation. I don't know. This orientation is allowed to take device back. Okay, good. I guess we are correct, even though my icons are sideways. All right, so hey everyone, welcome to the vmcampos Comic Book Club, where I review various comic books from my collection, either alternative comics from the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, underground comics from the 60s and the 70s, or sexy comics from all time. Today we're going to talk about sexy comics. So today I'm going to review Spider-Femme #1, published by Spoof Comics in 1992. So this is from the series of Spoof Comics, where they spoof various comics. See, very creative. This is Spider-Femme, based on a spider character. And back when this was published in 92, I guess, if you think about it, there were less spider characters. Nowadays, you turn over a rock and there's a bunch of spider characters. But here we had Spider-Femme. She's 30, flirty, down and dirty. Now, spoiler alert, this comic is not extremely, I don't know, X-rated or whatever, so it'll be safe to show the whole family. Not really, but starting here. So we've got some beautiful, bright white newsprint compared to the lower quality newsprint of other comics of the day. It's not the glossy paper that we're used to nowadays, but it's higher quality than the usual newsprint from that time. A little bit of information here. Cover artist Adam Hughes. Yes, that is Adam Hughes doing some work for indie publishers in 1992. Very cool cover. Interior, though, we've got pencils Henry Martinez, Gary Washington, and also Fred Hembeck. Yep, we'll get to that in a moment. So this is a pretty fun comic. The very first story, it's got 3 stories. The first story is by this group of creators over here. You can pause it and see the creators right there. And overall, I really like this story. It's silly, the plot is silly, but the art is amazing. Look at this perspective of Spider-Femme versus, I believe that's the character, Vulgar, I believe. And so it's perspective as they're battling up in the sky, and then even like the little details here, like she's got nose pinchers going on and little spider earrings. So cool design on her. It's all black and white, so you have to imagine what's in color and what's not. And this one is, hey there, hello, McKinnon Studio Animations and Games. Welcome to the live broadcast. So we're reviewing this issue of Spider-Femme #1. And so the interior art is in black and white, and it's very nice. It's not Adam Hughes' work, but this team of writers and artists, inkers, pencilers, I think created a very cool, fun, sexy story. This one's fun over here. Boof, wop, jiggle, pow, slap. So all of the classic sound effects of a comic strip, of a comic book. Close-ups, cool panel layout, various angles of the character in the city. We got a Dutch angle going on over here. So this story is pretty enjoyable. There's 3 stories in this comic. It is a little bit ribald, and its sexiness factor on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say, is an 8. It doesn't go over the top, but there are some things that if you pay close attention to, they are naughtier than you would think. And in this first story, she has to battle Vulgar, because he is a very vulgar villain. And it's got some silly jokes. Here she is holding her nose. It's Mejij Flumba de Blurger. And the translation is, it's a message from the vulgar. So eventually she has to find the character, the Vulgar, and beat him up. And he's got that little beanie propeller sort of hat, and it's all weird. Got some cool action poses. We've got the borders that are more of the jagged action borders than the standard ones. And it's a cool story overall. Spoiler alert, she wins. So again, this quick review here, we're just going to briefly look at the comic. If you want to enjoy the whole story yourself, you got to get yourself a copy. And in the end, she wins because the car wash washed up the bad guy. The second story is an origin story, and this is all art by Fred Hembeck. So he is a what's Fred Hembeck's origin? That he was a fan and then eventually became a pro in various ways, and actually did work for Marvel. He had his own fanzine, I believe, and he's a name that I remember back when I was first reading comics in the 80s. And as you can see here, obviously it's a much more cartoony style compared to the previous one. And I remember seeing his art all the time in the Amazing Spider-Man annuals and such that I was reading in the 80s. And overall, back then, I thought his art was okay. I didn't like that he put these little swirls on the knees, and here he is still in the 90s putting swirls on the knees. So I didn't really like that. I have a little bit more of appreciation of his art nowadays, but obviously compared to the realistic, sexy style, this is very cartoony, kind of juvenile. Not negatively, but I'm just saying I think the art style looks out of place compared to the previous art. But we get the origin of Spider-Femme, which basically, hey, she runs into some other nerd that also got bitten by a radioactive spider. He got bitten on the hand, she got bitten elsewhere, and then she takes it out on him. So then she decides to basically do crime fighting. Now her spider sense isn't the same sort of tingling like Peter Parker would get. She gets her tingling elsewhere, and then that then is her own very interesting origin story, and she becomes Spider-Femme. Now the outfit there's a little bit different than what we see in the other stories, so maybe that was her version Mark 1 of her costume. But yep, panel layouts good, clean line good. There's not a lot of over-reliance on cross-hatching and so forth. The pages don't look very cluttered, however, and the art is good, even though, again, I like the more realistic art a bit more. But I'm a fan of cartoony art in general, although I don't think it fits perfectly within this story as much because of the sexy character. Cool pose over here. Get that on a t-shirt. And then it's just a quick 4-page origin story. So pause it on your own, pause it on the replay, and read it there, the origin story, because basically her spider tingly powers are really nice, and that's why she fights crime. The end, or I mean, the beginning. The final story is Spider-Femme versus the Sandwich. There's a lot of fun puns in this book, and just silly stuff. 3 different stories, like I said, with different creators. Here's a creative team for this third one. Now, the art goes back to the more realistic style, but I do feel that it is slightly on a bit more of an amateur level. Not negatively, I'm just saying that this is, 10 out of 10 pro level style of art, and this one drops down to a 7 or an 8, way better than what I can do. But you can see right away that it's a bit more of an amateur style compared to the first story. And the Hembeck art, well, it's its own thing. Can't even quantify it the same way. There's all these amateur touches, like that arm's really long, kind of awkward posing and so forth. But again, way better than me, way better than most people. And it still follows the sort of clean style of the first the first story. But it does feel a little bit more cluttered here and there, where there's a few more too many lines here and there. It kind of really feels like 90s extreme style comics at the time, putting in the faux speed lines. Anime was starting to get popular. Anime and manga was starting to get popular in the US, and we kind of see those things here and there. So this one, she's fighting the Sandwich. So she's kind of like the powers of Sandman, of Spider-Man, and she can kind of also morph her body, but it takes a lot of effort. And then they battle. Spider-Femme's secret identity is being harassed, and then Spider-Femme shows up to save the day. So, yeah, spoiler alert, Spider-Femme wins. But how does she do it? Because of a bunch of candied apples. Because candied apples always stick to the sand. And that's how she defeats the Sandwich. Yep, sure, that makes sense. So again, it's very silly stories, very sexy art. And this one is including the original cards because it was the 90s and we had gimmicks. So the gimmick of this is that we've got trading cards. Mine is perfectly intact. So it's obviously a very valuable comic, never mind those rusted staples. But we've got here 3 cards. If I look at it carefully, they're not perforated, so you have to cut them yourself. And a little bit of text back here talking about Adam Hughes, the supremely talented young artist, and then info about him. You can read those other ones yourself on the replay. And at the very end, we just have some ads, and then we'll wrap up the video. At the very end, we've got ads for the other Spoof Comics. We have Bat Babe. I believe Adam Hughes did many of these covers. So we've got Bat Babe. That's a cover of, I don't know, something. Then we've got Imp Unity. This is related to the Unity event that was happening at the time, Imp Unity. And then we have here Ox, Cow of War. Not sure. Oh, I know what that is. It's XO Man-O-War. I get it now. All of these years later, it's XO Man-O-War, but Ox, Cow of War. Wow, hilarious. And then we've got Super Babe. That one's very hard to discern what they're spoofing. Adam Hughes art. And then here we have Wolver Broad versus Hobo. You might be able to figure out these characters yourself. And we end with Spoon, a parody of another dark character. Yep, so that's what this comic company was all about, just having comics with personality and spoofs. And then we end, and on the back we've got a shot of Wolver Broad with Jim Ballant artwork. So she's the best there is. Very amazing spoof of the classic Wolverine slogan. But anyway, there it is. This is a quick review of Spider-Femme #1, published by Spoof Comics in 1992. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments. Do you have a copy of this for yourself? And what do you think about the new direction of my channel? We're going to start doing live reviews rather than the edited ones. So join in, probably Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah, today's Saturday, but I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Join the live broadcast where we review various comics, either 80s and 90s, alternative, independent comics, 60s and 70s, underground comics, or sexy comics. And today we had a sexy comic from 1992. This has been VM Campos, and I'll see you in the next episode.